Hey everyone, there's been a lot of conversation about where we as an independent media organization officially stand during this time of crisis. And just to clarify, we are taking this situation very seriously, and we have been from the very beginning, and hope that everyone else does as well. And one thing that we are advocating for and telling people to do is to wear a mask. It's not a total solution, but a start, and it doesn't hurt anyone. It actually even protects your privacy, but most importantly, it protects all the other individuals out there who might be immune compromised or have a comorbidity that this sickness may affect in a more negative way than it may affect you. You might even have it, not even know it. That's our policy. But in this video, we interviewed James Corbett of the Corbett Report, a man that I respect very highly and has a totally different opinion on this, and that's okay. What we hope to do with this video is to spur a conversation and a dialogue to hopefully continue down in the comment section below, because it is truly an interesting one, but most importantly, a very needed one that I think needs to happen. Here it is. Hope you guys enjoy it. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski of WeAreChange.org, joined today by James Corbett of the Corbett Report, a fellow investigator and independent reporter doing an outstanding job. And of course, James, I want to talk to you about the latest crisis that is ensuing this entire world. I have a friend, you know him too, Jeff Berwick, and he wanted me to ask you, how big of a threat is this pandemic? And I kind of wanted to add to that and ask you, from 1 to 10, how much of a threat do you see this sickness actually being? The second question is going to be, what is the bigger problem? If it's a government response, the economic news, the health effects, you will answer yours. I will give you my feedback and my answer. We're going to have a discussion, maybe a debate. We'll see. But the first question, 1 to 10, how do you see this sickness as a threat?
All right, well, keep in mind that I can only go, like everyone else, I can only go on what the reports are and what's being reported here and there. And so if I'm just going on my day-to-day business, absolutely zero. But since I have to obviously take into account what's going on around the world, it seems that something is happening. I leave open the possibility that this is literally a hoax. I do leave that possibility open because it can function that way. When you say there's something going around and it's causing this respiratory illness that could literally be just the flu season, but if you concentrate on every single case as if it's the end of the world. But hey, I'm not a virologist. I don't have all the fancy tests to be able to identify the RNA of this particular COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 strain or all of that. So, all right, let's say this is real. All right. In that case, my impression is it would be most likely that this is a bioweapon of some sort, and I don't necessarily mean it as a bioweapon that has been released as part of biowarfare, although that is also a possibility, but it certainly could be something that was engineered in a lab to study the way that SARS could be weaponized, etc. And oops, it got out. It could be an oops, it got out. It could be a bioweapon. I don't know. The point is, look, I don't trust a single one of the numbers that we're hearing from any country about any of this. I don't trust any of the numbers. And that's not to say that I think all the doctors are lying and they're all in on it. I think there's so many different numbers that are being thrown around and mixed together that they're almost meaningless. Oh, there are 100,000 cases in the U.S. today. Is that confirmed cases or presumed cases? If they are confirmed, based on which tests? And is this state or local or federal data that's being compiled? And once it reaches that federal level, are all the states doing it in the same way? I mean, there's so many thousands of different data points that are going on right now. But even if we took it at face value, look at the Italian numbers. The Italian numbers in Italy, it's 10% death rate, it's total carnage. But actually, when you look at it, 99% of the patients who have died, according to Italy's own numbers, which again, I don't believe, but if you're a government number believer, 99% had 3 or 2 or 1 other comorbidities, i.e. they died with coronavirus and at least 1 other disease. In fact, I think it was over 80% had 2 other diseases at the same time, and the median age, or the median age of death was 78 years old. The average life expectancy in Italy is 82. So, no, am I scared about this virus as being the most deadly killer that's ever happened? Not at this point. Now, if this has been some engineered bioweapon that has a second wave or can be activated by something else, I mean, again, that's total speculation. I don't know that. If that's the case, then obviously that changes my impression. But at this point, I'm saying the virus itself, assuming it exists, 1 or 2. This does not look like a 10 situation to me.
Yeah, I personally, I'll be honest with you, I kind of disagree with you a little bit. I kind of rank it a 6. I just don't see like Iran, Russia, the United States, and China all kind of coordinating this. But one thing that I do agree with you on is that there's a lot of variables. We don't know a lot of information. There's a lot of conflicting data, especially when you look at the number of people who died comparatively from Germany to Italy. We're also learning that they're reporting the numbers differently in Germany than they are in Italy. So in Germany, if someone dies of a heart attack that allegedly has this, sickness, they don't count it as far as the coronavirus sickness. There is that level 4 biolab that was in Wuhan. There's a lot of questions surrounding that, but I think there's a lot of uncertainty. But overall, in my personal opinion, and feel free to counter me back before we go to the next question, I do believe that this is something that's legitimate. I just don't see so many doctors, scientists, virologists all being on the same page, nurses all being on the same page to be that scripted. So I think there's a possibility, but also there's a bigger possibility of people seeing this being real, and then people taking advantage of this situation and, of course, benefiting themselves, profiting off of this, which, unless you want to counter me on any of those points, kind of segues me into this next question. What do you think is going to be the bigger problem out of this entire crisis scenario? Do you think it's going to be the government's response, the economic news, or the health effects and the potential of this virus? It's not going to be the virus based on what you said, but out of those 3 or 2, economic or government, which are you most concerned about? Which do you think is most important?
Well, just to counter, I would just say Off Guardian has published some great pieces. 12 experts question the coronavirus or something, and 10 more experts question. I can't remember the exact title of it, but look it up on offguardian.org. They did some reports that show, no, there are scientists and doctors that are standing up and saying this is ludicrous, what's going on, complete overreaction. So there are people on the other side. But to get to your point, yeah, what is the bigger problem? Obviously, the government response is the first thing that's in your face and noticeable. The economic effects are they're still in the mail, perhaps quite literally, if you're going to receive a check from the government from on high. So people aren't concentrating on that as much in part of their daily activity, unless you've just recently been added to the 3 million or so people that went to the unemployment line last week. Millions more on the way, and that's just in the U.S. alone. The economic effects to this are going to be absolutely insane, totally, utterly, without precedent in human history. And I want to stress that I don't think coronavirus derailed a perfectly happy and healthy economy. No, at the very best, it's just the pin that's pricking the bubble. It may even just be total cover for what was already taking place, because as I'm sure you know, as I'm sure your audience knows, we were in the everything bubble for the past decade of complete nonsense, total la-la land, central bank printed fiat money nonsense. That is coming to an end. That entire system is collapsing. And the worst part is, of course, they've been planning for this collapse for a very long time. It's not like, the banksters have just suddenly been caught off guard. What are we going to do? No, the trap has been laid and it is being sprung. And we are going to end up in that trap if we are dependent on the fiat funny money system for our livelihoods, because guaranteed, maybe not this time, but you see the end game now coming into view. It's going to be complete lockdown of the economy. It's going to be digital dollars with your digital wallet issued by the Federal Reserve directly, and you will have to be a good citizen with a good social credit score to get your stipend from the government, and that's the only way you'll be making a living. This is the end game, and we're moving into it right now. So ultimately, it's the economic effects of this are going to be way worse than anything else.
On that, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I even just started a second channel where I'm just talking about all the economic news, because the tidal wave and the effects, I mean, giving everyone a check from the government, a $2 trillion bill that only $250 billion out of the 2 trillion actually goes towards a check. I mean, the effects of this will be monumental, and this is the most dangerous financial monetary experiment that has ever happened to humanity. This is insane. And again, even that 250 billion, that chicken scraps, it's nothing compared to what Wall Street and the Federal Reserve are getting away with now. So I definitely agree with you there. I definitely also just want to kind of continue the conversation. I know some doctors, they've been telling me stuff that's different from what we've discussed first. What was that list of doctors, that website you said? Because I want to do my own research. I want to have an honest kind of intellectual conversation about the list of doctors who are speaking up saying that this is ridiculous, that this is happening, because I do want to look into that as well.
It is called off-guardian.org. They've got 12 experts questioning the coronavirus panic and 10 more experts criticizing the coronavirus panic.
See, this is also why I kind of wanted to have a conversation and ping stuff off of you, because looking at this stuff from the very beginning, we saw the Chinese government lie about this. We saw them quarantine their troops. We saw the mainstream media downplay this, saying, oh, it's just the flu. The government saying, oh, it's just the flu. The president saying it's only going to be 15 people, and seeing the government downplay this, seeing the Chinese government lie about this looks kind of legitimate to me, because the United States has been doing a very poor job at it. You look at the World Health Organization. I mean, they're an organization that's in bed with, of course, the Chinese government. And also, I just did a whole video about this. Their director, I mean, he came from a revolutionary communist party in Ethiopia that covered up a previous pandemic. So understanding that and understanding the history of pandemics throughout human civilization and how they just ravaged people throughout our history. This is why I'm kind of taking it seriously, because my end point is we could have taken it more seriously. We could have taken basic steps. To me, it's all about educating the people and also wearing masks. It's as simple, in my opinion. And again, we could have a big, conversation about this. If people would just wear masks like they do in Asian countries, like they started to do in the Czech Republic, in Vietnam as well, and a lot of other countries who are flattening the curve, who are having a better handle of this, if we all took responsibility, wore masks, made our own masks, this would be less of a crisis, less people would be hurt, and the government would have less intervention, less access to come in without people begging them for them to come in, with this strategy being worse. That's my kind of bigger picture of how I'm seeing it. How do you see it, and how do you see this playing out? And if you disagree with me, feel free to have this conversation.
I do disagree, but you are correct that China and Iran and Italy and the U.S. and country after country is freaking out and shutting down their entire economy over this. That's, again, something that would be very difficult to coordinate, even if you do believe in the monolithic conspiracy. It's all just one, room of people at the top. That's not how the world functions at this point. So I agree. That does not seem right, which to my mind seems adds to the ledger on the biowarfare side of this, that they know something about this that we don't. There's a second wave or whatever it is. I don't know, which again would probably indicate that it was not intentional. It was accidental release, because again, this affects US and China and Russia and every other country. So, but anyway, what we do agree on fundamentally is, yes, it is, of course, as always, in the pandemic planners' interests to push the agenda as hard as possible by making the crisis as big as possible. So we can agree that whatever the case may be about the virus itself, the people in positions of power and authority gain in power and authority the more of a crisis that is generated. So however they're generating that, whether it's hyping up the virus itself or whether it's just exacerbating it and making sure that the response is bungled, oops, oh, did we do that? Either way, the point is to make the chaos as bad as possible to justify everything else that's going on in the minds of the public, and it is working like a charm. I've said that none of the things that are happening surprise me, except for the rapidity with which the public has completely flipped over into this mindset of doing whatever the authorities say. Everything is okay. Even people who have questioned 9/11 and things seem to be completely going along with the narrative here. And we're starting to see the new culture that's coming up, the social distance shaming and all of this. People are starting to police each other. And as the collapse happens, and as they're releasing prisoners, and, oh, the economy is going, and you're going to lose your job and money, and just total collapse of society, all at the same time as they're trying to turn everyone against each other. nightmare, total nightmare scenario.
And taking away their rights and taking away people's ability to defend themselves with the Second Amendment at the same time as they're releasing prisoners, telling people that they're not going to be enforcing laws. I mean, there's already riots in China. There's already some looting happening in Italy. But again, to me, the whole solution is even just wearing a mask. That to me is the ultimate solution. This is something that the CDC, the Surgeon General, the WHO are saying, no, you don't need a mask. To me, just like influenza, like I've documented throughout Asian countries and Asian territories like Hong Kong, have been proven to have a significant impact on decreasing that. I mean, I do see a lot of people who have comorbidities. Yeah.
I just wrote an article that everyone should read. It's called The Things You Cannot Say About Coronavirus, where I talk a little bit about this idea that we have to, that disease is unnatural and death is unnatural, which I think is anti-human in and of itself. I'm going to get sick at some point. We're all going to get sick at some point. We should do it. Now, if we just go with the total narrative as it's presented to us of the virus being what it is and having the effects that it is, then a 1,000 times more sane and rational response would have been to take the people with weakened immune systems, take the elderly, and quarantine them and make them, put them all into the concentration camps or whatever they've got in mind. Make sure that they're protected. Make sure everybody else gets the disease so that we build the herd immunity, as they keep saying. That would, I mean, I would at least understand the logic of that. But no, let's put the entire world economy on freeze. Literally stop all human productive activity for 18 months or whenever they arrive with the magical vaccine that's going to make everything better. Because again, let's not look into anything about boosting your immune system during this time. No, again, everything that they are doing is to exacerbate the problem and to aggrandize their own powers. It has nothing to do with yourself or your health or anything approaching a logical solution to this. Keep that in mind. Because again, just like 9/11, people get into total panic mode and do whatever the authorities say. And that's exactly where we are once again.
Yep, and this is the kind of perplexing thing, because the authorities are saying, don't wear masks. There's data showing that influenzas and other viruses are stopped through masks. And I'm like, well, why aren't we making masks? Why aren't we telling people to make masks? But again, I've been also saying, prepare for this, stock up with food, and most importantly, be responsible for yourself as an individual, and don't expect government to come in to protect you, because it won't. And that's, I think, the bigger lesson that I think we could definitely agree on. We disagree on some things, but I'm happy we're able to have a conversation about it, which I think is important for everyone to kind of understand. I'm sure a lot of people in the comment section are going to be letting us know where we particularly stand. Again, I just want to reiterate my point. Be responsible for yourself. Yeah.
Let me just say that was the point of my article, is that I wrote things that you're not allowed to say about coronavirus, because I see the shaming getting to the point where people are starting to censor themselves and they're starting to understand, oh, I better not go out of line here because the neighbors are going to be angry at me. No, we have to say what we think about this, what's going on right now more than ever, because guaranteed the crackdown on online dissent is coming.
It's already happening. It's already happening.
The disinformation online. They are coming after our ability to speak at all on these subjects. We have to speak up now while we can. And I'm glad, yes, I'm glad we disagree. There should be a lot of different viewpoints that people are hearing right now, because I'm not right about everything, you're not right about everything. But together we can have a conversation and people can figure out where they are and what's happening for themselves. But only if we're allowed to have these conversations, and that is about to be shut down.
Yep, Facebook and Google and YouTube just announced that they're talking specifically with the World Health Organization, the corrupt in the pockets of the Chinese World Health Organization, to decide what content should be allowed and not allowed on social media. And they're taking away people's rights like crazy. It's important to be responsible. It's important to stand up for yourself. One last question. How do you see this panning out? I'm hoping people take this seriously by being responsible for themselves, being independent, starting to grow their own gardens, starting to wear face masks and take precautions, because some people are, according to some of the data, asymptomatic, could spread it to other people. There's healthy people also getting this as well, even though mostly older people with comorbidities do die from this. This is why the numbers in Germany are so low, because they're not reporting people with comorbidities. But how do you see this panning out? How do you see this kind of unfolding within the next few weeks and months? Because I think it's only going to get way worse from here, in my opinion.
Oh, I don't think we've seen anything yet. No, the absolute best quote unquote possibility is that, yeah, somehow or other this all kind of goes away in a few weeks and things go back to normal and everyone goes, wow, hey, we made it through that, and now let's get back on, and they pump 18 bajillion dollars into the economy and call it, and they go back to the slow frog boil. I don't see that happening, though. I don't think that's likely. But no, this is going to get way, 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 way worse, because we have literally entered a new paradigm. I'm pretty sure for at least the next few decades, if not the rest of your life, you will be hearing about the next viral pandemic. And, oh, it's coming, guys. Oh, the virus. And now the ICIASIS has it, and they're going to release it, and whatever. You know, this will never, never end. And they've got the panic button installed in people's brains now, and they're going to push it over and over and over. This is the new paradigm, like the war on terror was 9/11's paradigm, and we're living through it right now. So yes, it gets worse and worse and worse. And the only solution, as I continue to say, is to decentralize and to get off of their grid, because their grid is the enslavement grid. And the more we step into it, the more we accept from the government to come in and make things better, the more we are nothing but total tax cattle that can and will be culled when they do release a bioweapon. If this isn't it, it's coming at some point in the future. And they've already trained people to accept this. So this, yes, this is bad. And the only thing we can do is what you and I and others have been screaming about for the last decade plus. Everything we've said is magnified and underlined in bold point times 1,000 right now. So go to corbettreport.com, type solutions into the search bar. Those are the only things that we have left at this point, is decentralization of everything. The food supply, monetary, community organizations are the only thing that can get us through at this point.
Totally agree with that. The best way to control someone is with fear. The second best way to control someone is to divide and conquer them and make them see their fellow man as the enemy. I'm very happy, James, we were able to have this conversation. I'm very happy we were able to kind of give our different kind of perspectives, but I think overall we agree things are bad, they're going to get worse, and we need to take responsibility for ourselves, and that begins with you taking your own independent action by thinking for yourself and not believing anyone. Don't believe me, don't believe James, do your own homework. James, thank you so much for joining us. The website will be down in the description below. And stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.